My sister Jessica had always been the wild card in our family. Growing up, she was the one who colored outside the lines, literally and figuratively. While I, Amanda, was organizing my books by author and date, she was outside jumping off the swing set backwards, trying to invent her own superhero moves. Our parents used to joke that we were two sides of the same coin, completely different, but always somehow connected. After college, Jessica packed up and moved across the country to Oregon to chase her dreams as a freelance travel photographer. I stayed in our hometown in Ohio, helping our dad after our mom passed away and working as a middle school English teacher. We drifted, not intentionally, but naturally, like leaves on different parts of the same river. Our lives were just moving in opposite directions. It wasn't like we had a falling out or anything. We still texted and sent each other pictures and birthday gifts, but the closeness we had as kids had slowly faded. I missed her, though I never really admitted it out loud. There were moments, especially around the holidays, where I'd find myself scrolling through her social media, looking at her bright, spontaneous life and wondering how we became so distant. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when my phone buzzed with her name. I was sitting in the teacher's lounge grading papers when I saw it. "Hey sis," the message read. "Can we talk later today? It's important." I felt a flutter in my chest. Jessica never said things like that unless something was really up. I called her as soon as I got home. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, Amanda," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Hey, is everything okay?" I asked, worried something had happened. She hesitated for a second, and I could hear her exhale through the receiver. "I'm flying home next week. I've been thinking a lot lately, and I need your help with something." "Of course," I said immediately, trying to sound calm. "What is it?" "I want to reopen Mom's bookstore." I froze. Our mom had owned a small independent bookstore on Main Street called Maple and Ink. It had been her dream, her passion. That store was her sanctuary. After she passed away, we closed it down. It was just too painful. Everything inside had been left untouched, like a memory sealed behind a locked door. "You're serious?" I finally asked. "Dead serious," Jessica replied. "I've been thinking about it for months. I know it's kind of out of the blue, but I really feel like we should do it. Together." I didn't know what to say. My mind swirled with emotions: shock, confusion, sadness, fear. Reopening the bookstore meant reopening a chapter one wasn't sure I was ready to revisit. "Why now?" I asked. She sighed. "Because I miss home. I miss you. And I miss Mom. I think bringing the store back would be a way to honor her, and maybe reconnect with each other. I know we're different, Amanda, but I think this could be something good. For both of us." I didn't respond right away. I needed time to process. "Just think about it," she said softly. "I'll be there next Thursday." The rest of the week passed in a blur. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. Reopening the store sounded crazy. We'd need to clean, update everything, order new books, figure out logistics, and emotionally, I wasn't sure I could walk back into that space without falling apart. But something in her voice stuck with me. It wasn't just a project. It was a request, a rare, vulnerable one from a sister who usually never asked for help. When she arrived, she looked different. A little older, a little calmer, but her eyes still had that familiar spark. We hugged for longer than usual. It felt like breathing in someone I hadn't realized I missed so much. We drove over to the bookstore that afternoon. The building looked worn down. The windows were dusty, the sign was faded, and there was a small crack in the glass door. But when we stepped inside, it felt like time had frozen. The shelves were still lined with books, though most were covered in dust. The counter still had Mom's notepad and her favorite blue pen. A small framed photo of us as kids still sat on the back shelf. I couldn't speak. The memories flooded in so fast, Mom smiling behind the register, her voice reading bedtime stories, the way she'd make hot cocoa during winter book readings. Jessica reached over and took my hand. "She'd want us to do this," she whispered. And just like that, I said yes. The next 2 months were a whirlwind. We spent our evenings and weekends cleaning the place from top to bottom. We scrubbed shelves, repainted walls, replaced old bulbs, and donated most of the dusty inventory to local libraries. Jessica took charge of marketing, designing a new logo, setting up social media accounts, and organizing a launch event. I handled the logistics, inventory systems, contacting publishers, managing finances, and working with the local Chamber of Commerce to get our license reinstated. Working with Jessica was surprisingly easy. We had our moments, like when she wanted to paint the reading nook in bold colors while I argued for soft neutrals, but we laughed more than we argued. We rediscovered things about each other that we'd forgotten. She loved graphic novels. I had a thing for 1930s mystery fiction. She made the best grilled cheese sandwiches. I brewed better coffee. One night, after a long day of organizing the back office, we sat on the floor surrounded by boxes of books. Jessica looked at me and smiled. I know this sounds cheesy, but I'm really glad we're doing this. Me too, I said, realizing I meant it more than I'd expected. She looked around the room. I used to think I needed to leave this town to find myself. But I think I just needed to come back to remember who I was. The day of the grand reopening came faster than expected. We decorated the front windows with fairy lights and stacked our new releases in creative displays. We had local authors come in to do readings and even organized a small story hour for kids. When we opened the doors, people flooded in. Families, old friends, teachers, even some of Mom's old customers. The joy was overwhelming. Some visitors teared up when they saw the familiar space restored. Everyone kept saying the same thing, "Your mom would be so proud." And I think she was. I could feel her presence in every smile, every laugh, every turned page. As the sun set and the last customer left, Jessica and I sat outside on the bench in front of the store. "We did it," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. "Yeah, we really did." The months that followed brought new challenges, but also deeper connection. Jessica decided to stay in town permanently. We split our days at the store, started a monthly book club, and hosted weekend workshops for kids. The community embraced us more than we could have imagined. One day, a little girl came in with her dad and asked where the magic corner was, the spot our mom had once read fairy tales during story hour. I pointed her to the back where Jessica had recreated the space with beanbags, twinkling lights, and shelves of colorful books. As I watched her run back there, I felt a lump form in my throat. My sister's unexpected request hadn't just reopened a bookstore. It had brought our family back together. It had helped me rediscover the parts of myself I'd tucked away. It reminded me that healing comes in many forms, sometimes as simple as a yes to the one person who knows you best, even if you've grown apart.